101, what it is and how it helps. That's what we'll be talking about. I am Patty Mariposa. I am a Reiki master teacher, Usui Reiki master teacher. There's different lineages. And so I'm also, like I said, a licensed clinical social worker here in Florida. And Reiki for me has definitely been my saving grace. How I help people is to identify the stress and trauma within their mind and in their body and help them to release it using all the skills that I have. And that includes energy. I use it in both my therapy practice, um, a little bit, definitely before sessions. And I also use it. I'm a wellness coach and an energy healer. And so just kind of always having different hats that I wear, but Reiki is infused in everything that I do. So I came to Reiki actually really not intentionally at all. I came because my sister in 2009 was diagnosed with cancer, and she chose natural therapies, which at that point I had no idea what that meant. I was just going into graduate school for social work, and so that was like here, let's diagnose people, and this is what their problem is, kind of mentality. And then energy healing is, okay, the body is sick. What is that telling us? Where is that trauma? Where is that stress? And ever since then, it's just taken me on a path, again, never planned, yet very grateful for. And so I received a message, a spiritual message that I need to become a teacher. And I fought against that for a long time. Now, again, I'm super grateful that I pushed past my own fear of teaching and public speaking. And now I've been able to teach Reiki in Latin America in both English and Spanish, around the US. And it's just been, and I've also done it virtually. So it's taken me to other countries, and I get to share that. So I love to now pass it over to Regina, my co-host. Yay.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here. And I'm my heart is very full right now because I feel supported, I feel loved. And to me, that's really what Reiki is about, is allowing energy and the flow of love to show up in our lives. And I feel so blessed because a few of the ladies that are here tonight are from another community that I'm part of, which is very, very dear to my heart. It's a sisterhood. And I love being able to blend my worlds together. And my experience with Reiki has always been there, but I didn't exactly know what it was. And I can really relate to what Patty said about not wanting to be a teacher, because I had a whole story about me and what that meant. And so starting first with yoga, even though I remember Reiki being in my life, even as a kid, and just feeling energy and feeling like I had power in my hands and in my body, but I didn't know what that meant. And I was actually really scared of that power because I thought, well, what if I hurt someone with this? And what I've come to learn is that Reiki is a tool, and Reiki can really support you and others in having less anxiety, less overwhelm. And I know someone here mentioned when we first started on the call about being here because they were dealing with some heartache. And I can share with you that Reiki fills love into your heart. And so that's something that I feel very strongly about. And I've been able to use Reiki as a tool in my own life. And I've been able to use it to teach others how to feel better, both in yoga and not in yoga. And I've been able to teach around the world and country using these tools. I taught in Hawaii, I taught in other states, Montana, Florida, and Bahamas, a couple other places in the world. So I feel like it's a tool that it's fluid and it can move. So I love this photo of Patty. To me, it reminds me of Reiki because it's fun.
Yes, yes.
We use that. So
yeah, so that is also one of my favorite. I'm like, I'm catching the light. Look, you can see the light. Like, look, this is coming out of my hands. That was like totally the intention. So what we're going to do today is you're going to experience energy in your hands. We're going to understand a little bit about the impact of stress and trauma in the body. You're going to understand the difference between Reiki and energy healing. Like some of you said, some of you have heard of it, or perhaps you are also energy healer practitioners and curious, like, well, what is Reiki and what is that difference? We're going to identify how Reiki can help balance your chakras, because hey, who doesn't like to be when like your balance chakras be like, okay, I'm cool, I'm not gonna like throw somebody off the cliff or maybe jump myself, or like, no, let's stay calm and balanced. Most importantly, we're going to learn how Reiki can decrease stress with ease, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, how Reiki can help you. And then we're going to, of course, wrap up with receiving Reiki through a group meditation. So for all of you who are like, I've never experienced it, guess what? You're going to leave this webinar being like, I've experienced Reiki. It's changed my life. Or so is the hope. All right. So I get really giddy with this topic. It really brings me to my childlike essence, which I love and appreciate. Okay. So let's go ahead and feel energy. A lot of times we may feel it, but we don't understand what it is that we're experiencing. So what I want you to do, if you're not driving, if you're driving, please don't do this. Don't want to recommend this. But if you're able to, I want you to just put whatever's in your hand down for a moment. We're going to clap our hands together, almost like what we call a prayer position or gasho. And you're going to start rubbing it really, really fast. So you feel that heat. You're like, oh, it's getting hot. Don't really need it. And then we stop. Just notice the sensations you have between your hands. And if you like, just go ahead and just look in between your hands. Maybe you might see something, maybe not. And then I want you to just gently start to pull it apart. Again, noticing anything that comes up. And then push it together. Just notice anything that happens. And again, pull it apart. See if you can go a little bit farther. And then slowly come back. Again, noticing any difference. And then go ahead and just shake it off. Every one of you had some kind of experience. Something, whether in the present moment or reminded you of another time. A lot of you felt a resistance or felt like an energy. And that's actually what we feel a lot when we're doing what's called energetic scans of people to find out their aura. So you can then find if you can actually get close enough to the person, how close, and if you can actually touch a person. And you actually do this, and we see actually more kids do this. When you see like you're coming up to somebody and that person has their hands up and they want to hug you, and you get close and you're like, ugh. I don't want to hug this person. And you have no idea why, but there's that resistance. It's kind of like you bounce off of the energy of that person. So Reiki helps you to become more sensitive to energy, not in a bad way that's going to drain you, but just know that, oh, yep, I felt something. And then the next trick is really trusting that intuition and knowing, okay, there's something about this person. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it provides me this feeling. So I'm going to go with that feeling and take this action, right? So I'm just like being quite general of either going towards a person or going away from a person. When we bring energy, healing into our lives, or using more energy in our lives, it just helps us make better decisions. And not saying it's all the time better decisions, but a little bit more aware decisions. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Regina?
Yeah, I'm laughing because it definitely doesn't always help us, right? So with making better decisions, but it helps us pause and realize we have choices, right? Like I'm laughing to myself because I'm thinking, wow, what would I do if I didn't have Reiki? Like it's such a powerful tool. And there's so many times where I wish I had Reiki because I wish I had other resources. And so it's an amazing resource. It just helps you pause and realize um, all these other factors, right? Which we're going to talk about next, the 5 types of energies, and how even though it's not something you can't physically see, we all felt it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's really a powerful technique that can help support us in having less stress and less anxiety. And as you'll learn, there's a lot more to it than that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And so, like Regina said, and that I moved into, is 5 types of energy. So, a lot of us, we just talk about energy in general. And so, but there are different types because of how they manifest in our lives. So, the first one, again, they're not in any specific level, but mental are those thoughts, those things that overwhelm us. And sometimes our thoughts can give us more energy, like we get excited, we're like, oh, we're here at a webinar, we're connecting with people, we're like, yay, and we keep thinking about that, right? Or kind of like Regina said, like she was chuckling because she was remembering something, right? So her thoughts were giving her energy. Whereas sometimes our thoughts can actually create negative energy or pull us down and bring us into, again, that anxiety, the depression, the hopelessness. And Reiki is a tool that can help with all of this. But remember, it's a tool. You can't just depend on one tool to save you or to help you. It's multiple things, but Reiki can be infused with everything. So I work with a lot of clients that have issues with depression and anxiety, which a lot of it stems from trauma. And if we don't get to the trauma, it's really hard to balance these energies. Another way that we notice energy is in the physical, right? How many of us have like aches and pains, right? Or like our knees hurt or our back hurts. I think I have a slide on the chakras, which we'll again touch on briefly. Um, but the physical is a representation of the mental and the emotional. When your thoughts are negative and dark, and your emotions are sad and lonely, well, it's going to show up physically because your body, that's how it speaks to you. It lets you know if you've worked too hard, if you're tired, if you're hungry, if you're dehydrated, if you need to go to the bathroom. But it doesn't tell you with words. It doesn't say, hey, Regina, it's time to go potty, right? You know, it's just like, ooh, I feel it. Gotta go. That's how we know. Um, Now that's on the, I guess, like the more Western side or just like what we know. The other side is the spiritual side, the wisdom. Spiritual is the connection with source, with God, with spirit, with the energy that's around us that's bigger than us, what we can't really see. And then the wisdom is that inner voice, that trust within us. Anything you'd like to add, Regina?
I think that one sums it up.
Yep. So here's like a really great representation or example of how stress, which again is a very general word. A lot of times we say, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. As a therapist, I'm constantly like, okay, tell me what that means.
Mhm.
What is causing you stress? Right? What's your environment? How are you thinking towards that stress, right? The mind. Are you worried about it? Are you indecisive? Are you making decisions quickly or emotionally. I know sometimes, no, I not sometimes, whatever. I know a lot of times I'm like an emotional person, in that, like, especially emotional shopper. If I'm just like, I see something and it really resonates and I know those marketing words, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited, buying. Like, then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, why did I do that again? Right. So again, it's my minding where all that energy is going. The body, again, headaches, infections, fatigue, breathlessness. That's a lot of stress. And then the behavior. These are the actions that we normally do to deal with the stress. I say we, doesn't mean all of us, or especially those of us who are here, but a lot of us know, like, we might smoke more or have insomnia or do things that are just not part of our normal behavior because we feel overwhelmed. So again, if any questions or comments come up for you, we're going to have some time at the end to answer your questions. So feel free to put them into the chat box.
I
So
can just
here's,
add,
go ahead.
I was just going to add one thing. For those that are interested, I created what's called the stress method because I found myself stressed by a lot of things. And I said, you know what? What if I actually made stress work for me? And so it's an acronym. It's not what we think of. Like, I love how, Patty, you said, tell me about stress. What do you think? What do you feel? What does the word stress mean to you? And so for those that want to dive a little deeper, you know, there are techniques, more techniques to help support us. So if for those that are interested, you know, feel free in the chat, just say stress and I'll know to follow up and share with you one more technique that you can use.
Yep. Perfect. So here's another example. How many of you on this chat, and you can just play, you know, comments in the chat if you know about this, if this resonates with you, if it makes sense to you, or is this like the first time you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Any comments? Just put them in the chat. And if, yeah, we'll hear what you have to say. Regina, if you can read any of the chats, that would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mostly about the stress.
Okay.
But I know, you know, this slide really stands out for me because when we start to recognize, there's a book for those that follow Louise Hay. She's a real revolutionary thought leader in the work of healing. And she created back in the 70s a book called Heal Your Life. And it was all about the emotions and dis-ease. And when we create disease, right? When there's a disease, it's dis-ease if you break it down in the body. And so it can show up like anger in the liver, right? Or grief in the lungs. Why do people, when they're sad, they have a hard time breathing, right? You're wheezing, right? Because you're having a hard time breathing and there's grief there. There's stuck grief. And I'm sure in Patty's work, you know, she would agree, right? That when you're dealing with trauma, what's happens is people can't breathe, right? If you're stuck in an elevator or in a fire, things like that, it really brings up things, you know, in the stomach, right? You might feel worry of tightening of the stomach. Stress also weakens the heart and the brain, right? When you're stressed out, you can't concentrate, you can't think, right? If you're going through heartbreak, why is it that you can't focus? Because your heart hurts, right? And yes, we don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not felt, right? Why does it feel like your heart is broken into a million pieces? Because on some level, it really is. Neurologically, it is. And then of course, fear, you know, lives in the kidney. So there's a lot to this. And that's why I love this slide. Like, it's a really good one that Patty chose. And I think it really depicts a lot about how emotions can help us understand what our body is trying to communicate if we're able to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to get into trauma, although it's just one of my favorite subjects, because I mean, just so trauma is really how we react to a situation. And so we could all experience the same event in a very, very different way. And how we respond to it with our mind, our thoughts, and our emotions is really going to affect how our body then takes it on. There's another really great book called Your Body Keeps the Score. And this was
Oh,
written by Dr. Vessel Van something. I don't know. It's such a long word, but just you can Google it. How your body keeps a score, and it talks about how a single incident trauma is like when one thing happens. Let's say a hurricane, right? Hurricane Fiona. That's a trauma, especially if you lose your stuff, right? Or you get evicted, you lose your job. That's like a single incident trauma. It happens once, but it can still have long effects. Complex trauma is when things happen over and over again, like domestic violence, um, sex trafficking, um, things like that, where the abuse is consistent, and you just can't get out of it. Maybe you don't even know that getting out is a possibility. And then, of course, child abuse trauma. What happens to us in the first 7 years of our lives greatly affects every single thing that we do. As a therapist, most of the time, I'm constantly asking, so tell me about when this symptom started. What's your earliest memory? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, let's just think about it. And usually they're able to go, well, I remember in first grade. I remember in sixth grade. All right. Well, first grade, or like maybe like 5 years old. Right. So it's around that age that we're sponges and we like soak up things. So again, a really cool diagram that I found. I'm just like, there's a lot. And some of you can probably pick more than one traumatic situation in here. And guess what? Your body remembers every single incident you went through, whether you consciously remember it or not. Okay, you can't see this very well. It looks so much better on my PowerPoint. But this is the chakras. Again, not going to go too much into it. The chakras don't have, I don't want to say they don't have anything to do with Reiki. It's two separate entities or tools. But when you understand the chakras, Reiki actually makes much more sense. And I have a really cool handout on like chakras 101 that I can send along with the recording, just so that you're like, oh, these are the chakras. And you'll notice the physiological complexity with each of the chakras, the thoughts related to it, and things that you can do using all of these modalities. Okay, so now we're talking about Reiki. So that's always how I start my Reiki 1 class. We talk about everything but Reiki for the first like hour and a half. And then I'm like, okay, and the reason you're here is, but the reason that I talk a little bit about stress and trauma and energy is because if you don't understand that, Reiki is going to just go over your head, which is what happened to me. When I first learned Reiki and got to feel it in my hands for the first time, I was like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. Why is this happening? Does it turn off? That's totally what I asked. I was like, how do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? I didn't know what to make of it. They're like, oh, it's all spiritual. I'm like, but I feel it in my hand. So how does this work? Teach me. And so that's going to be important. So Reiki is a Japanese word, which means universal life energy. So we're bringing energy from the universe, from God, from all above. Again, whatever your word for the universe or energy is, that's going to be channeled in through you. that's going to come in through you as a practitioner. And anyone can learn this. We actually have, there's people that bring a tune. So a tune is the channeling, the passing of Reiki from the teacher, the Reiki teacher, to the student in a sacred ceremony that we do in each class. And there's some people that have attuned their cats, dogs, horses, other pets, and it's magical. I know I had to actually close the door of my office because I have 3 cats, and anytime I talk or do anything with Reiki, they're all around and they start jumping everywhere. They're like, "Oh, is it Reiki time?" I'm like, yes, but not for you guys. Go. So you'll know that once you learn Reiki, you're going to notice that more like animals are attracted to you, kind people, and the things that you're going to attract. And the beautiful thing you'll experience is that Reiki is there, it's no time and space or no time and distance, meaning it works no matter what. Like it works from here going to all of you. It works in the past, it works in the future, because energy is all now. There's no time, because time is something that humans created. I mean, when we think about we're like a planet and another planet is like 20 billion years away, what is that? What does that really even mean? Regina, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Speaking of pets, here we go. We got one. You're muted. Gets a every time.
Thank you. Yes. Pets, like you said, they are very receptive to Reiki. And if you notice, when you are in a good mood, your loved pets, right? Your furry friends like celebrate with you, right? And then other times when you're sad or feeling like, maybe down, what do you notice? Your furry friend jumps on your lap and comforts you, right? So that is also a form of Reiki. And they're very intuitive like that. Like they really do feel. And I think our animals can teach us so much about energy and about feeling. So there really is no limitation. And on our last webinar, someone actually, I'm so glad she said it. Someone asked, can you do harm with Reiki? And I think I mentioned beginning one of my fears when I first started learning that I had this power was, well, what if I do something bad, right? By accident. And there is no such thing. Like you can't do harm with Reiki. It's a positive energy. And you'll notice in the art, in the description of it, if you notice any type of artwork or illustrations, you'll always, at least my experience has always been, it's a very light, literally light colors and light vibration. And you can even on that, you can do like muscle testing. If you don't believe me, right? Don't take my word for it. Actually fact check for yourself. And there's tools you can do for that too, like the human pendulum, or if you have one of those crystal pendulums. So Reiki, you can't do wrong with Reiki. It wasn't designed that way. And it's a positive force of nature and cosmic energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to really understand what universal energy is, it's love. Mm-hmm. So whenever we call upon Reiki to fill us up, what we're asking for is love, and love heals everything. And so when we, with our good intention to offer healing, and again, healing is a very, and we talk about this in the Reiki class, like what healing means, because a lot of people think healing means to be cured. But healing is the journey of the process of whatever is also happening. So if you're going through a chronic health issue, a trouble, an issue, a problem, making the problem and pushing it away instead of saying, okay, what can I learn from this? Reiki is a tool that can help you. It helps to bring down the pain, bring down the discomfort, but also something to teach you. So the difference between energy healing and Reiki is the attunement. In energy healing, just like when you get this tantra healing, that's energy. All of that helps to shift the energy that's blocked in the body, so that once the energy is flowing again, you feel good, you feel calm, right? Reiki is a tool that you receive through the attunement, and it's spiritually guided. What I mean by that, before you start a session, or even when you want to do self-care, you always ask your guides. You have Reiki guides. If you believe in angels, you have angel guides. You have spirit guides. And Reiki opens the door to a whole new world. If any of you have ever been in the spiritual world for a while, you know it's a doozy. The things that go on, you see and you hear, it's like, really? Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Like some of us, we were talking about, Regina and I, about Mercury retrograde. What the heck is that? How can you really explain that? But we feel it. We know it's affecting us in different ways, right? That's energy. And so Reiki can be one of the tools that can help bring you back into balance. Another great thing about, well, Usui Reiki, the way that I teach it and that Regina as well, is we have the Usui Reiki principle. So these are 5 principles. Which I brought them here. I just added that slide, Regina. I was like, I need to bring the principles on here. And the principles remind us it's a practice, a daily practice that you do in the morning and you do in the evening, where you come together in quiet, in solitude, bring your hands together, connect with Reiki, and say the principle. What an amazing way to start your day. You're welcome to like take a picture, take this, and just, you don't have to know Reiki to already start using these. I actually send this to my clients so that they have the principles and something that they get to use throughout the day as a way to release their stress, to cope, to ground. And when you start using practices on a consistent basis, like meditation, prayer, reading, right? Those practices calm the body and it calms the stress. And that's when it can heal. A body that's in stress cannot heal because it's working on saving your life. So the principles, I am peaceful, or we always start with just for today, because that's all we can do. Again, we're in the present moment. I am peaceful. I am calm. I am grateful. I work on myself professionally and personally. And I am kind to myself and others. Imagine saying that every single day. That's pretty powerful. And add that with Reiki. What? Regina will be joining me in sending you Reiki. So what you may experience in this meditation, and it's going to be a brief meditation, you're going to possibly experience tingling in your hands. You might experience cold or warmth. You might experience tension that you've been feeling to release. You might, if you have like a headache or any kind of physical pain, that may go away. You might just feel really, really calm. You might even fall asleep. You might experience nothing. And that's totally fine too. So go ahead and just Get comfy where you are. Again, it'll just be a few minutes. Take in a deep breath as you slowly close your eyes. And focus in on your breath. And I want you to just to turn into a specific area of your body. A place that's been causing you any pain or discomfort. Maybe you've been on your feet all day, your feet might be tired. You've been at the computer, your hands, your shoulders, maybe even your eyes are tired. Whatever is going on, and if you're like nothing, that's okay. Some of you mentioned a heartbreak or a difficult moment in your life. Know where that's sitting right now in your body. If you're familiar with the chakras, which chakra is affecting you? And I just want you to notice and just keep breathing. And just notice if that energy begins to shift. If it moves, if it becomes tighter, or if it becomes more loose. Notice if your thoughts seem to be quieting just a little bit. Just continuing to breathe. So I'm noticing a lot of sensation, I would say, coming from the heart. I know there's a few of us on here, a few who have stated struggles with your heart, and this could be emotional. This could be mental. This could be because of, again, worry or anxiety or whatever you've been struggling with. So again, just wherever you are, I want you to notice. Just remember to breathe. And just go ahead and lower your hands if they were up to a little shake and slowly open your eyes. Those of you who want to learn this beautiful tool, we have a couple of options for you that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be the Saturday, October 1st. I'm teaching in Miami, which is the Kendall area, and also offering it virtually. So it would be via Zoom. And that's going to be from 12:30 to 6:30. And in Broward, Dania Beach, Regina and I are going to be connecting, and she's going to be offering yoga from 9 to 10. And then we're going to be working together to share Reiki with you and teach it to you, which is a Reiki level 1 from 10 to 4. So I teach, how I teach Reiki 1 is focusing on self-care. Because a lot of times people, they're Reiki practitioners, and that's really where it's going to be important, is that you find a Reiki teacher that you resonate with, that this feels good. Like it's kind of like realtors. There's so many of them, right? However, they each stand out because of what they offer you as a client. And so finding the right Reiki teacher is going to be that. So Reiki 1 is the first stop. In the Reiki 1, you learn about the history. You learn, again, some teachers just add a lot of other stuff to it. I teach about the chakras in the first level. We expand on trauma in the first level. And then I teach more again about self-care, how you use Reiki anytime and anywhere for that self-care. For example, when I'm driving in Miami, that's one of the things that drives me kind of nutty. So I'm constantly like driving one hand and one hand on the steering wheel and the other hand on my chest, and just taking deep breaths, looking at the road and thinking of Reiki and just having that flow through me. So that's how I teach it. So if you want to learn Reiki, again, you have these options with us, or allow spirit or the universe to bring you that right practitioner. Just like you arrived here, you'll arrive at the perfect spot that cost you.
Whether you're a dentist or a practitioner or in, even retail, whatever field that you're in, you can bring your Reiki in to your career and into your home life, right? How you deal with your kids, how you deal with your spouses, how your family, right? So there's a lot of different layers, and this training is a great start for anyone that just wants the tools for themselves, and or you want to share those tools with other people. It's a really good tool. I've had doctors learn Reiki. I've had, people that are education and, random, any career that you can think of. Everyone can utilize it because it's not subject to one specific type of category. And again, Patty has the online version on the 1st, which is great. So if those, or I'm sorry, not online, but hybrid, right? It's live and online in Miami-Dade, and then in Broward on the 2nd. So on the website, on this page, you'll just see the 2nd. But if you want to do the one on the 1st, that's Patty's event. And then Patty and I are going to do the one on the 2nd. So depending on which date works best for you and which option, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. And for those that decide to take initiative and take action this week, we'd love to reward you with some free Reiki personally. So we'll also, for those that register by this Friday, we're going to go ahead and throw in a free Reiki session with each one of us. So that'll be an extra added value for those that join us.
Reiki 1, this class that we're talking about in person either day is $200, which includes the manual as well as the certificate. And you also have my support during what we call the 21 days, which is the time that you're detoxing. And we'll explain that in the Reiki 1 class, because it can be, depending on the person, kind of like, ugh, right? They're detoxing a lot of energy and toxins, which is a good thing. Doesn't always feel that good. But I help support you through that. And then you also get a self Reiki audio that I send you that guides you through the self Reiki practice. If you want to take it virtually, it'll be $150, and then I send you the material by mail.
And I love the timing of when we're doing it, because we're doing it right before the holidays. So getting 21 days right before holidays start, I find helpful too, because a lot of things get stirred up, right? We have anxiety about shopping and being with family and overeating and all the stress that comes with holidays, and sometimes loss, right? Sometimes we lose people and, family members or pets during holidays. So that can be really intense for people as well. So having that clearing space and that detox right before the holidays is really powerful as well.
A lot of social workers, kind of like Regina was saying, like doctors and nurses, one, again, self-care first, oxygen mask first, and then we work with other people, right? When we're in a calm space. And I also teach more in Reiki 2, how to also include Reiki, like with your clients, with people you work with, like how to bring it into your life without it being like, oh, that thing? Okay, you're like way out there. Like, no, how to make it where you speak the language of the other person and bring them the relief that they're looking for. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. It's 8:05. Again, love honoring your time, and make sure you drink some water. You'll be getting the recording by tomorrow morning. And thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for being with
Thank
us.
you
We'd
so
love to
much.
hear, your feedback, any feedback, what you liked, what you'd like to see more of in the future, and